Good evening, everyone. Come on in the room, come on in the space. I'm so excited about our 25th show tonight. Yay! So, our 25th episode. So, come on in the room, come on in the room. Drop a comment, let me know that you are here. Hey, Robin, good evening. I have a special guest on tonight that you want to hear. So come on in the room, come on in the space. And you guys already know how I do. I don't wait too long for anybody because I want us to have as much time as possible to give to our special guests to talk about our topics. And tonight it's a good one. So I wanted a few more of you. I'll wait for a few more of you to get in the space. Come on in, come on in, come on in the room and drop a note and let me know you're here. All right. All right. Hey, Teresa. Good to see you tonight. Good to see you. Come on in. Come on in. Give a few more minutes just to let people get here. Hey, Katina. Reverend Katina. Good to see you in the space. Good to see you guys in the space. Listen, this is one of those episodes you want to share, that you want to tag people to come on in the room, because while there's so much political rhetoric going on in the world, hey, Cheryl, so much going on, it's hard to know what voices are saying the right things. It's hard to know what to do because there's so many conflicting voices out there. So I want you to tag folk to come on in this space, especially people who don't seem to be really clear about what's going on in the world when it comes to voting and how we're supposed to handle this vote. I want everyone to be able to come in and get some clarity around how we need to handle our vote. So tonight's session is about the power of the ballot. So it's an important topic. Everybody's been talking about it, but mostly what you've been hearing is people just screaming, vote, vote, vote. But we haven't really come together to talk about what does that really mean? What are we really talking about beyond, hey, mommy, beyond, we need to vote because our ancestors paid the price. We really need to understand what's at stake. And my special guest tonight is going to help us do that. All right, I got about 12 of you that I'm seeing. And again, we don't go by the numbers because I can't see everybody in all of the pages or from even YouTube that might be watching. So we're going to just go ahead and get in the topic on tonight so that we could get started. And I can give this special guest, who I'm so excited is here, as much time as possible. So let's do it. Let's get started. But wait, did you guys see my logo? Healing is the only agenda on the wall. The studio has been upgraded. Yes, you see it? Yes, yes, auntie. The studio has been upgraded and I'm excited about it. All right, let's get Good evening, everyone. Again, I'm so excited about tonight's episode. It is our 25th episode. Can you believe it? We've been doing this long, right? Time's just flying. Things are happening. The world isn't what it used to be. We aren't who we used to be. So much is changing. And so I'm so excited that tonight I have someone I'm privileged to call friend, been a mentor in many ways. And it's none other than the Reverend Dr. Carolyn Patterson. And I can tell you all about her bio. I mean, it's extensive, but right now she is a regional pastor with the American Baptist, what is it called? American Baptist
Churches of New Jersey.
Churches of New Jersey. I don't know why convention wanted to come in my head. American Baptist Churches of New Jersey, where she has been tasked with being really a pastor of pastors, going around to different churches within the New Jersey area and just helping them really progress and bring their churches into healthier and greater spaces and doing a work even greater than they might already have been doing. I've watched her do this at the church that I attended, Calvary Baptist Church, where she served pretty much as the assistant pastor, executive pastor, however you want to call it. So I'm privileged to have you here, Carol. Thank you so much for taking time out to come and talk to my guests. But let's get to it, because she's more than just a preacher. She's more than just a teacher. She's also a political activist, and her ministry, called Set Captives Free, has been doing some amazing work just around social justice and educating us with her radio show on WJIL, right?
Yep.
About social justice issues, as well as, things around this voter election time and all of that good stuff. So I want to give Carol as much time. She can tell us a little bit more about herself, but I want to give her some time to really help us understand what we're coming up against and what we're really fighting for, and put it in some real context for us, because I think we've heard so much rhetoric that people just have gotten immune to it. We don't even know what's real and what's not anymore, and people are just voting, but not necessarily educated about what's happening. So, Dr. Patterson, help us understand. The topic tonight is the power of the ballot. Let's just start there.
Tisa, thank you so much for having me. I am excited to be with you on your 25th episode. I love studio upgrades. I love music. And the 25th anniversary is supposed to be silver, so let's just do it up big.
Yes.
Where would you like to begin?
Well, hey, Dr. Westfield, look who's on.
Oh, we got a special viewer. Yes. Everybody matters. I love you all, but that's our mutual professor and mental theology.
Yes, I've missed her so much. Let's just start with talking about this election time. And I've talked to several people about whether they should vote, mail-in vote, whether they should stand on the lines, what's the right thing to do. And today I read an article from the New York Times that just talked about how much voter suppression has been going on over the years underneath our noses. We didn't even realize this stuff was happening. And the Supreme Court's been upholding a lot of this crazy behavior that the Republican red states are trying to impose. And we're being impacted as Black and brown people the most. So let's start there. Just start with, what are we supposed to be doing right now? Am I supposed to be online? Am I supposed to have mailed in? Because I mailed in mine at the special ballot, but somebody told me, no, you should have went to the polls. What should we really be doing?
If anyone has already put their mail in the U.S., their ballot in the U.S. mail before understanding everything that was going on, you should be able to track your ballot. Have you tracked yours?
I haven't.
Please do. There's software that enables you to track your ballot. You should have had a number when you put it in the mail, and you should be able to. Well, you can go to the myvote.com, and they should be able to give you instructions on how you can track your ballot. I don't know all of those details, but there is a way to do it. But let's start with, if you haven't voted yet, what's the best way to do it? I hate to tell people what they should do, because these days people bristle at being told what to do. So I'm going to say the options you own, and I'm going to say what I think might be the best option. You can put your ballot in the U.S. mail. I advise against it because we have a postmaster who first fired postal workers, then took sorting machines out of the post office, then took the machines apart with a quickness so that if they were court ordered to put them back, it wouldn't be possible to do.
Can we just stop right there, though? And can you say that one more time, just a little more slowly, because it sounds so crazy to me. Just say again, the Postmaster
General. Let me back up and say one more statement about this Postmaster General. Owns stock in other delivery companies that compete with the post office, not just stock, but is an owner of a company. I don't remember the name of it, and I don't know.
Complete conflict of interest.
But very big conflict of interest. But as we know, if you give the orange dude who lives in the People's House on Black Lives Matter Plaza enough money, conflicts of interest go away. So he is a supporter of the orange dude. He owns another type of delivery company like FedEx, a company like that, like UPS. I think it might be named Logistics or XP or something, but I'm not sure. Owns this company, gets the job as Postmaster General. First order of business, fire people who deliver the mail carriers. Reduce the pay so there's not enough people to deliver the mail. Number one. Number two, remove sorting machines from post offices and dismantle them immediately after their removal, so that if anybody is able to get a court order to say, replace these machines, you're not able to do it.
Wow. I feel like sometimes we're talking about like we're in a movie, and this can't really be real. That this is happening in 2020. It's happening in the United States, which is supposed to be quote unquote free, and so it's so disheartening. So you're advising against mailing it. Now, is that the regular general mail or even those mail boxes that they?
No, in the state of New Jersey, we are privileged. I know this is Facebook and people might live other places, but let's talk about Jersey first because it's where we are.
Yes.
We have ballot boxes in every municipality in the state of New Jersey, official ballot drop-off boxes. Right. I highly recommend, if you want to find out where yours is, you go to your county clerk's website. Because although Facebook is claiming to be a voter information center, there's a lot of talk about the potential of Russian interference. We know that the Trump campaign has set up lots of fake accounts pretending to be Black Trump supporters.
And no.
Yes.
No, I didn't know that.
Yes.
What?
And then sending us videos that are damaging to the Democratic Party or in favor of Trump, trying to get people to say, oh, we need to vote for him.
Wow.
So I don't trust any of the election information from Facebook. Now, if it's a person you know, and it's their post, that's one thing. But if it's anything unknown to you, Facebook is not a valid source of election news. One of the reasons, it's going to seem like a digression, but it all goes together. If you've been watching the news, you see that there's all this criticism that TikTok might be sharing our information with communist China and a U.S. company, right, own part of TikTok and all of this stuff. It's because TikTok is Facebook's only major competitor. And if we can make TikTok go away, then Facebook corners the market, and that's the only place where you will get your information.
Wow. Because I realize, I do remember that they were passing a law where federal employees could not use TikTok because they claimed TikTok was an espionage,
So we're talking about Russian interference. And we know it happened in 2016, and we know it happened through Facebook. But we're not concerned about that. Our concern is TikTok.
Right. And China. It's China now. Right.
Now, let me ask you this. When has a U.S. president ever dictated who could own a company? And then who? Walmart, for real? Walmart, a big Republican Trump supporter, is the valid company to take ownership in TikTok? It's all a big game.
It's horrible.
It's beyond horrible.
It's horrible. And what's so disheartening for me is that some of this craziness is being supported and upheld at the highest levels of our court system.
Yeah, well, and so and this is the thing about electoral gaslighting.
Yes,
so
yes. Let's talk about that.
People all the time of doing what you're doing. During these debates, it starts with 45 asking former Vice President Biden, are you going to stack the court? The electorate needs to know. He has stacked the court. He's appointed more than 100 federal judges. These are lifetime appointments, and they're all very conservative. You stack the court around the country. Then you just shoved a Supreme Court justice down our throats with only 8 days to the election. When there were 200 days, when our forever president was in the White House, the same Republican Senate said it was unconstitutional because the electorate should decide. But now the electorate doesn't matter.
Wow.
And I want us to think long term, because the media feeds us these little short term bites. They're not stacking the court just for this election. They're stacking the court because statistically they are the minority even now.
Yes.
And they're afraid that we will treat them the way they have treated us in the future. So they're stacking the courts with conservatives now so that if they ever need to go to court about any issue, they will have a friend sitting on that bench.
Wow. Wow. And just from what I read today in the Times, Carol, this stacking of the court is allowing some of these decisions, such as the removal of polling places and the redistricting and all of this voter suppression that most Republicans have been trying to do. They have been upholding these things. They have been clearly making sure, to your point, that whatever their agenda is being upheld.
Yes.
And so talk to us, because sometimes we know we got to vote in this election, but talk to us a little bit more about this long term, because I feel like in our community, we get the most immediate president, but we forget about some of these local level elections.
Yes.
and how these local level elections are the ones who then make appointees to different state Supreme Courts and things, and how it just becomes this mountain for us to climb. And we keep thinking we need to worry about Supreme Court up here, the United States Supreme Court, and we don't even think we need to be worried about the court systems in our own states, rather. So help us understand the long-term impact of all of this, and why we have to be more involved in not just presidential elections.
Okay. Can I do a little history, because it all goes together?
Now, you're the professor, so come on with it.
1963, March on Washington, happens because President Kennedy tells Dr. King, I will do what you want, but you have to make me do it. Because Kennedy was elected to be everybody's president. He couldn't just do something for Black people without being forced to do it. So the March on Washington becomes a show of strength.
Right.
Then we get the 1964 Voting Rights Act from Lyndon Baines Johnson, after we marched. And you just went to the anniversary of the march.
I sure did.
So that's where we first get the Voting Rights Act. Then the late Congressman John Lewis spends his entire life trying to make sure that this stops, that this becomes in perpetuity, not something that needs to come up every 20 years for us as Americans.
That's right.
Who came here in 1619, who built everything that everybody else is on. Why do our voting rights need to be renewed periodically? No other group.
No other group.
Just Blacks.
I can't.
So the alleged conscience of the Congress, spends his whole career working on this, and that bill right now sits on Mitch McConnell's desk unsigned. After he comes to Congressman Lewis's homegoing and says he's a hero. He's a hero, but I don't want to do the one thing he asked me to do. So then in 2013, this is why I want to do the history. In 2013, the Supreme Court pulls the teeth out of the 1964 Voting Rights Act. How do they pull the teeth out? Part of it gave the federal government authority to go into these red states that you were talking about that were the most questionable and oversee elections and make sure they didn't do half the stuff they try to do these days. The Supreme Court pulled the teeth out of the Voting Rights Act.
Yes, they did.
So now
totally undermined it.
Yes. So now to get to the president, what you're saying about the long term, we have to vote in every single election. Even if you don't have kids, you should vote in the school board election, because that's who's going to be taking care of us when we're older if we don't have biological children.
That's right.
We need to make sure the school board is right. We need to make sure the mayor is right and the council is right. Whatever town you live in, they're controlling your community.
That's right.
Then you got to vote on the county level. Freeholders are the most, freeholders is a good name for them in New Jersey. They're county officials. They have a lot of money, discretionary budgets. Most of us don't know who our freeholders are.
Oh, never what they do. You don't know what that means.
Never thought about writing them a letter.
Say it again.
County, and I said, we've never been to their office. We've never written them a letter. We've never asked them for anything. They have a lot of power. Wow. Every county in New Jersey has a county executive. County executive has a lot of power. County executive decides who gets a place on the ballot.
Wow.
Do we know who our county executives are? There was just a big deal in the 11th Congressional District in New Jersey between Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill, who's in there now, and Tamara Harris, a Black woman who decided she was going to run for Congress. Mikey got the line because Mikey was in with the county executive. We
Wow.
can't, if we need to play a long game in politics. If
That's right.
we want to run somebody for any office in the next cycle, we need to start that work now. And politics is about money, not just presence. And we'll tell somebody, I'm with you, I'll show up for you. You got to
Right.
write checks if you want to play in this game.
It's true. It's true. I've been donating so much this season, just because I know that it actually, unfortunately, seems like it comes down to dollars and cents anyway. Who raises the most money, or who can
Yeah.
garnish the most money to get to kind of buy this election. Talk to
And
us.
then, so wait 1 second on this.
Okay.
Once our candidate gets in, our work is not done. People want to complain about what our forever president didn't do. Did we lobby him to do it?
Say that.
So we have to elect people and then hold them accountable. So prayerfully, former Vice President Biden and Senator Kamala Harris will win this election. But once they get in office, it's our job to stay on top of the issues. And I want to quote one of our mutual sister, Jackie Cobb, said this. I want to give her the credit this time because next time I'm going to own it. Jackie said very casually that we are the steak of the Democratic Party and we act like we're the potatoes. And they cannot win an election without us.
Wow.
So why do we act like they're doing us favors and giving us no, you wouldn't be in the office if our governor in the state of New Jersey, 92% of the black vote got him to be governor. And then when it's time to do the budget, you want to cut things out of the budget that benefit the black community. Why? Because we're not paying attention.
That's exactly why.
We're not paying attention. As a holiday. And everybody's, he cares about the black community. He made Juneteenth a holiday. He made Juneteenth a holiday over here and cut the budget over here. Pay attention.
Wow. Wow. So, but how? How do we pay attention? How do we pay attention? Right? You know, like you said, so many people are getting their information from places like Facebook, which if I could just go out what Dr. Westfield would tell us when we were in seminary, is Wikipedia is not a
scholarly source.
A scholarly source. There you go. I was trying to remember the word they would use. It's not
a newsworthy source.
And Facebook, but people really believe everything they see coming out on Facebook.
Yes,
and which is why they're able to attack Facebook, and you get all these ads and you get all this information, and you just see how rumors take on a real life and become a real thing using social media. And so help us understand, if I'm going to stay involved, if I'm going to try to stay on top of things, where do I even begin? Where do I start? What place should I really be involved in?
We have to read. You said you read something in the New York Times.
Wait, I need to make a banner of that. Remember they used to say back in the day, reading is fundamental.
Reading is fundamental, yes. We have to read. We have to read multiple sources, because one of the things that social media has done is create tribalism, which is why we're so divided now. If I'm only going to pay attention to what people who think like me say, I'm not going to have the full picture. People love to watch MSNBC. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but don't let it be your only news source, because they have a particular bent. And if that's all you want, this is why Fox News people live in one world and MSNBC people live in another world, and never do the twain meet. It's like as far as the East is from the West. So we need to be taking in multiple news sources.
Multiple news sources. But let's talk about that, because this is, and again, when we're not paying attention, things like these monopolies over news outlets and who owns these news outlets, it happens right up underneath our nose. Yes, so the same people who own a lot of these stations own the papers, so it makes it even more difficult, feeling as though you're getting actual authentic different viewpoints, because there's so much monopoly going on, even when it comes to the news media.
Absolutely.
And so it becomes weird. Like, okay, if I'm watching CNN, but if CNN is owned also by, this guy over here who owns, and I'm not saying this to be true, but like owns the Times, then I'm going to get their bent. And so what you're saying is, while that might be true, you also need to start reading people you can't stand. Start watching those other people that seem so far off, so you can hear and understand where they're coming from, so that you know how to even discern what's
Yes,
real and what's not.
absolutely. Now, I'll be honest with you, watching Fox News drives my pressure up, and I have to try to take care of myself. So I'm not suggesting anybody become a Fox regular watcher, but you
Right.
can get the headlines. And you don't even have to watch. This is why I'm saying read. You can scroll on your phone and see the headlines of the Fox News stories, and you can still take in. But I'm not even suggesting just those polar opposites like that. We're a Black community. I'm
Yes.
imagining most of the people on the. So the Root is excellent. The
Yes. Love
Guardian.
them.
I want to introduce people to, if you're not familiar, the African American Policy Forum,
Yes.
AAPF.
I got my t-shirt from them. Okay, wait, but let me put these kind of down so people can see it. The Root.
I'm not saying the Guardian is Black, but they do have a good slant, I think. The Root is definitely Black.
Yes.
AAPF has a wonderful statement out about Amy Coney Barrett right now. I read this woman said that the 14th Amendment is questionable. She's never tried a case.
I was going to say, and it just speaks to.
And I'm concerned about those Black children she has. I'm sorry to cut you off, but if you
Black children?
she has these 2 Black Haitian adopted children. Now, if you think the 14th Amendment is questionable, what are those children doing? I really hope they're not the slaves in the house.
I'm laughing, but it could be so true.
One never knows in this alternative reality in which we live.
It's so true. Wow. So get your information. One, we got to read. Reading is fundamental. Some of us, we don't read. We watch movies. We watch. We all know our super, social media. Everybody's Netflixing. Everybody's doing these things during this pandemic. But what we really have to start doing is reading, and not necessarily reading for pleasure, but reading to be educated and informed.
Yes.
And again, I think it's almost like math to me. What happens is they kind of tell us that we can't really succeed. We're not good in math. They tell women that all the time, almost like, stay away from math, go to psychology where feelings are. And so you get this idea that it's not for you. And the same thing is like with politics, like where it gets so confusing. Oh, I'm not into politics, and we don't want to be involved. So we stay away from reading and getting ourselves immersed and educated in some of these things. But look look who's paying the biggest price. It's always our Black and brown communities who pays the biggest price.
Yes, because they count on us not paying attention.
And they've gotten over, and they've done so much.
The gaslighting thing, the whole reason, it breaks my heart, and it's a fact. This nut, the orange dude, is up among African American males ages 18 to 24. The people who he's doing the most harm to. And you want to know why? Because of these antics. You pardon 2 Black people and you say, I pardon more Black people than any other president. That is so not true. If we would read, we would know that wasn't true. It's just like the Bible. If you don't read the Bible, a preacher can tell you any crazy thing.
And they do.
And they do. So just like you need to read the Bible to know whether a preacher is making sense, you need to pay attention to the news to know whether or not a politician is making sense.
It's so true. It's so true. And even just what you're saying just speaks to what I've kind of been on my soapbox a lot. Anyway, is that we've been so busy trying to survive, right? We've been so busy just surviving, not thriving, that we haven't moved out of spaces of just worrying about our day-to-day stuff.
Right.
And that's one
of our day-to-day stuff. That's the problem. This whole thing about the Affordable Care Act, when they talk about pre-existing conditions, my hypertension is a pre-existing condition. And how many Black people have it? How many Black people are diabetic? We won't have health insurance. We should be the number 1 people fighting to make sure that the Affordable Care Act stays in place. We think we're surviving, but try to go to the doctor without insurance.
It's horrible. But all of this, and again, I feel like we have been sleeping on the systemic racism. We've been sleeping on the systemic oppression that's been going on while we've been busy trying to show that we aren't like the rest. We're moving into our, bigger houses, and we're still stuck on material things, thinking we've arrived, and it doesn't matter where how big your house is or where you're living. If you can't even get to, you can't vote, you can't, all of this oppression that's still going on, all of that comes down to meaning nothing.
And so we are the only community that will not hold on to our story, rehearse our story, make sure our kids know our story. Statistically and population-wise, the Jewish community is an extremely small group. But do you know why they have so much power? They're united. Let somebody try to tell them to forget the Holocaust. They're labeled anti-Semitic and blacklisted, and we never hear from them again. But we will allow people to tell us, oh, slavery, I didn't do it. You may not have done it, but you benefit on my back, and it's time for that to change. Now, what I think is wonderful in this whole, I think it's like a perfect storm, and I'm not thanking God for the pandemic at all. It's terrible. So the 220,000 people who are mourning the Lord, that's terrible. But if it wasn't for the pandemic, we wouldn't have seen this sea of multiracial protest. Nobody would have taken off work to march about George Floyd.
That's right.
And all this voter suppression that you're talking about, if the people in power thought that they could win a fair election,
they wouldn't need to do it.
No voter suppression, no voter depression, none of that. It would be like, come on, everybody, let's vote. And it goes back to us being the stake of the Democratic Party. The whole Republican Democrat, how it started, how it shifted, all about the treatment of Black people.
Wow.
All of it. We used to be Republicans because Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. All the first Black elected officials were Republicans.
Yes, they were.
It was Dixiecrats wearing those little white pointed hoods that didn't want, and it was conservative and progressive. We really should have more parties than just Democratic and Republican.
I'm so glad you said that, because I've been saying that forever, that really for Black people, there is only one party, and it's called the white party, because usually it's just white old men, controlling what's happening. We got our one forever president in there, but then he still had a Congress that was still ran by white, typically, predominantly white old men.
That this nut was able to stack the courts. The Democrats didn't even back our forever president 100% like they should have, quiet as it's kept. Because if the Democrats would have backed him 100%, they wouldn't have left 200 judgeships empty. This was left empty. And this is America. I'm sorry. This nut is more bombastic than most people want him to be. He says things not the way they want it said, but he does what the conservatives in this country want.
That's it. That's why they don't like him either. But he does what they want him. He pushes their agenda. Yes. So they tolerate him. Most of them in there think he's a bumbling idiot. Most of them think he's crazy. But because he has that foundation, that base that's just as crazy, that's willing to push him forward, they have jumped on the bandwagon and sold their souls. His
base is the least of my worries. What worries me is the quiet people who won't come out against him, because as Dr. King said, and as you see on these signs, white silence is violence unless they condemn his behavior. And Dr. Kendi and How to Be an Anti-Racist, you're either an anti-racist or a racist. There's no middle space of not being a racist. And if you're not condemning what this nut is doing, then you're as bad as he is.
So help me understand, because you gave us that stat about Trump being up for young Black men. Mind you, young Black men who are being shot dead in the streets and all of this stuff is happening to them. They're probably the most oppressed, He
took a full page ad out in the New York Times saying, give them give them the death penalty for an alleged rape, when it was found out that they weren't even guilty.
Didn't even do it.
Apologized.
And I was going to say, and he would not go back on it. He would not go back on it. So it's embarrassing to me that this demographic would be saying they're Trump supporters, but talk to me about the power that apparently these rappers or these different ones come out and have. It is killing me. So we've got some of these dumb people, okay, who, because they could put some lyrics together and a beat, you know, and have a voice, come out saying, you know, like 50 Cent, he's supporting Trump because of taxes. Taxes.
Let's tell everybody, 50 claims he was kidding when he said that. Now, I've not seen a correction tweet that says I was kidding and you need to vote for Senator Harris and Vice President Biden, but his fan base is not in his tax bracket. And they don't realize that.
Exactly. And we won't even.
I don't even like this season of Power. That tweet, I'm not going to watch the rest. I don't care about Tasha or Tariq. Like, where does it go?
and Tasha's still in jail. And if we knew how to vote properly, maybe those same judges that she got to face up against, she would be faced in that systemic racism she's dealing with. Okay.
And how about we use the time that we would be watching Power, reading some credible news sources to make sure we do.
Right. So yes, he said he was joking. But by the time people get that he said he was joking, you got still all of this falsehood and this information out there where people are like, well, that is something to think about. And you got the Kanye
influence to be joking like that. Let's be responsible with our
And Katina, I think you said he tried to correct it because he didn't want his ratings to suffer.
Well, he better do a better job. Spend some money, take out an ad, and tell people to vote for Biden.
That's right. And this is what we mean by holding people accountable. We keep thinking that the only people we need to hold accountable are, you know, people in office, and we don't even know how to hold people accountable because we're not involved. They don't, when we speak, they don't think anything until we get united and start demanding things. And
unity is the key.
Yes.
The strength in
ITY, right? Yes. How old is that song? And we still don't got it.
Every other community can come together to press an agenda. We are the only community that can be divided and conquered so easily.
And I think what's even and something we don't talk about, and David, my big brother, is asking about, have we talked even about these evangelicals who seem to be, they have just lost their, I'm just convinced they sold their souls to the devil. They are the demonic force that is out there like never before to me. That I just
is, again, it's convenient and it's not about. So this man had 3 wives, right? Evangelicals don't have a problem with that. This man somebody told me they saw a documentary that said that Vice President Biden went to Epstein Island. Okay, but Trump lived there. Is that moral?
Right.
They're right to lifers because they want white babies to live. But if they cared about quality of life, would they be trying to take away health insurance? Would they be incarcerated? And you know why they incarcerate us at the rates that they do? So that their people with 5th and 6th grade educations can have a job watching us as prison guards.
It's so true. We hate to say it.
And we need to vote not just in elections, Tisa, but with our pocketbooks and our feet. Find out who owns that My Pillow man. Don't ever buy another My Pillow. Do you know how hard that man goes for Trump?
Wow.
Know who owns them. If I find out, my little shoe man, I used to love him, but I was in there one day and he had some radical radio station on that was talking bad about our forever president. I said, what do you think about that? He said, what do you mean? That's the news. Man never saw me again. I don't spend my money with people who are against my life, not my livelihood, but my life.
I know. And I'm so broken about Hobby Lobby, right?
Broken about Chick-fil-A. I love Chick-fil-A, but no, I haven't been there since I found out. And Home Depot, no, go to Lowe's. Lowe's has a black CEO, and Home Depot is all in for Trump.
No more Hobby Lobby. My sister's she been boycotting Hobby Lobby forever. No more Hobby Lobby.
No more Hobby Lobby, no more Chick-fil-A, and please don't go to Wendy's.
Wendy's too?
Wendy's too.
But see, this is the part that we that's what Katina said. What? Not Wendy's? I think what you're saying though just shows us the extent of
Yes.
this man's reach, right? The
Yeah.
people who will support him, and not because they so much care for him as a person, but because he's going to continue to push their agenda, which their agenda is white supremacy. All they
Yes.
want to do is secure their power and space in the world because they are minority now. They are trying to secure that space forever. My
Mhm.
issue I have with not just us, because to me, we just act blind, deaf, and dumb sometimes, right? But what is going on with the our Latino, our Latinx people? You got so many of them, and because they tend to be Pentecostal too, and evangelical, that are like the Trump supporters. That because they think that it's all about pro life, that he I don't believe in abortion, that somehow they should be voting Republican, and they're so conservative. And it boggles my mind because last I heard those cages are still in existence and people are still in them at the border. Did I miss something? Did how how does he cage your people, cage the children, and you're still saying, but he doesn't believe, he's against abortion, but he's against the living.
So
Like,
here's the thing.
help me
Each one, we need to talk to our confused brothers and sisters of any ethnicity. Because again, it's that electoral gaslighting. They will give you, I saw John Leguizamo on Real Time with Bill Maher, and John said that they are targeting in Florida. The Republican Party is sending special ads to people telling them that he's going to make Venezuela and Honduras, that Biden would make Venezuela and Honduras one country, because that's their worst fear. It's a falsehood, but
Right.
they're micro targeting people with their fears, and we have to combat that with the truth.
Wow.
And let's go another further. Many Latinos, Latinxes, Latinas identify as white. You know, they have that choice on the census. They can either be white or black. And I don't think there's any such thing as a woke person who is a Trump supporter. So in these next few days that we have as ours, anybody we know, we need to be educating them with the facts and trying to get them to wake up.
Wow.
Because what we know is if they can steal this election, they will. So the victory has to be so decisive that it cannot be stolen. And we never finished answering voting. Please put your ballot in a ballot box before November 3rd. There is no reason to wait until November 3rd. We don't know what might happen or not happen on November 3rd. Who knows? They could try to make a blackout and you can't even get to a polling place. I put nothing past these people. There's no reason to wait. Drop your ballot in a ballot box, and don't find out where a ballot box is from any other source than the county clerk's website. Because in the state of California, they had fake ballot boxes.
No.
So people are putting their ballot somewhere thinking they're voting, and it's not even a legitimate box.
Oh, that's horrible.
And this is on the news. And that was what I was going to say. A lot of people are like, read. I'm not going to read. Well, then get your news from different sources, but on different sources on TV. Like I even know about the Wendy's and the Chick-fil-A and stuff from D.L. Hewley's post. So you don't have to sit down and read books and newspapers if you don't want to, but consume some information.
Wow. But I'm still stuck on the fake ballot boxes. And they know right here in West Orange, they found all those ballots thrown out in a dumpster. And this is right here in a blue state. Found all of those ballots in a dumpster that some, postal person decided to take one for the team. And oh my gosh.
Well, let's know that Jersey is a purple state. We'll have a Republican governor one time. We'll have a Democratic governor another time. We're a purple state.
Yes. Yes. People are talking in the chat and they're saying, Shell's saying she's learned from Roland Martin's show. Yes, he's been really good keeping us informed. Van Jones has been doing stuff and articles.
Joy Reid.
Yes, you got to be able to stay on top of these things because so much is going on. People want to know, what about Olive Garden? Is Olive Garden?
I
I
heard
just,
they were.
you heard they were.
We
Wow.
have to double check these things but
Listen, I really believe because people think
and
that
if
they can
Olive
make
Garden is, that means Red Lobster too.
right. And I really believe that any company, if they really well, the people who are supporting Trump believe they're going to make the most money with him in office. So I can only imagine that a lot of these large companies that's all about profit is going to support Trump because they want to be able to keep the structures that allow them to make money, pay their people no money, um, in place so that they can, continue to be millionaires.
Here's what we need to know. Most companies give money to both parties. They hedge their bets. And you can always find out publicly on any company's website, if they're publicly traded, how much they have donated to each campaign. It's going to involve some work, but we need to know, especially investing. I invest in socially responsible funds. I don't want to invest in a fund that's making money off of prisons, because I don't want to make money off of our brothers and sisters that are wrongly in prison. Not that I got a whole lot of money to invest, but the little bit I got, I'm going to spend wisely.
So let me ask you this, because people have been talking. This has been one of the most polarizing, I think, times in my life, right? Where you have so many people from so many different areas, with so many different beliefs, so many different labels. The divisiveness in the country is, to me, at an all-time high, or back to where making America great again. This is exactly how it probably looked back in the 50s, okay, where we're divided on so many ways. You got your black, you got white, every label you could think of, there's the divisiveness is there. As a preacher, as a teacher, as someone over churches that are not just all black, but churches, period, where there's diversity, how do we, as people of faith, strike this balance between understanding how to lend our voice, how to raise our voice, how to be active in this political climate without feeling as if we still are isolating or having to, disengage from others? Like, yeah, I don't know how to really word it, but it just, how do we not look like the world in all of this? How do we, and how have you been managing it? How, with this, as the strong feelings that you have, how do you still find the space to be able to deal with the diversity that you have to deal with on
I'm
the
going to answer your question in 1 second, but whoever asked about Olive Garden, fact check from USA Today. Olive Garden is not funding Donald Trump's 2020 campaign.
I think I'm gonna have to run the Olive. I haven't been in years, but I think I'm gonna have to go just for that.
Or get your breadsticks delivered. Okay. But to your question, I think I'm fortunate, and we are fortunate at American Baptist Churches of New Jersey. Our executive minister, Miriam Mendez, we just had our annual session, and because of COVID, it's the first time we ever had our annual session online. Right. ABC New Jersey is 190 years old, so it came about during segregation.
Yes.
We are one of the most diverse regions in the American Baptist system, which is a great thing. And we had a week long of pre-annual session webinars. Monday night was getting educated on how to get involved in racial reconciliation work.
That's good.
Thursday, I did one on learning about how to be an anti-racist. So we are using facts to educate ourselves when it comes to politics and getting along with one another. But the root of it all, our theme last year was deeply rooted in Christ. And we had the same theme again this year. And if we keep Jesus at the center as people of faith, we ought to be able, even if we have different political views, if we look at the Christ in one another, we ought to be able to respect one another, right, hear one another's views, and have civil conversations about it. I think it only becomes vitriolic and venomous when we make it personal.
Right.
Now, to me, you asked what my strong views, it is very personal. I believe that any person of moral decency should not be a Trump supporter. But that's my belief. I can't control anybody other than me.
Right.
And I tell people, if you love me, you will not vote for Donald Trump.
Okay, you put it just like you love me. At least you won't vote for him and let me know.
Tell me about it. No, because everything he's for is not good for me.
Right. You're not going to continue to vote for someone who is clearly trying to kill me and my people and emboldening others to do that.
Yeah. And we have the only way to make allies is to be respectful and to be civil and to deal in facts, not feelings.
I like it. I like it a lot. Deal in fact, not feelings, and unfortunately, in so many of our faith-based circles, people take this stance that Jesus wasn't political. People take this stance that Jesus was not involved in politics. And while he might not have been involved in politics as we see it today, almost everything Jesus did was political because he went to the least of these. He came out of the most oppressed group of his time and started doing what the government would not do, which was feeding them, which was healing them, so I just think we just have these misinformed ideologies, even about who Jesus is.
Exegesis. That's what people who have poor exegesis. Jesus was political. Jesus was executed by the government. And this is how corrupt America is, though. We have the nerve to have on our money in God we trust, and we talk about socialism like it is the worst thing under the sun. And the economy of the Bible is a socialist economy.
Say that.
So
and again, it goes back to facts, right? Not feelings, facts.
And let's just pick any text and exegete it properly, and we will see that it's not the way a conservative sees it or the way a liberal sees it. Because one of the biggest problems we have, and I know I'm not on to talk about biblical interpretation, but you went there. Our Western way of reading the Bible is so wrong. Any story that you would pick, if you would read it the way it's supposed to be read, it would not fit our Western ways.
Exactly. And unfortunately, many Black and brown people don't realize that the Christianity that we understand and know today is a westernized Christianity.
If we're not educating ourselves, it is.
We're not. We're not. We don't get it. We don't get just how much of the Christianity and the way that we understand God comes from how it was passed down to us through slavery, right? Mm-hmm. That always had a slant to keep us disenfranchised and oppressed, so that they would be seen as the better, the more supreme and more closer to God. How many of us in Black communities grew up believing that we were, cursed in the Bible, and so that's why we have to suffer and all those things that, and so I try to tell people part of education is also really getting to understand your faith.
Well, I'm so blessed that I had radical parents, because I was never taught any of that. So to God be the glory. But I do know there are a lot of people who were. Here's the thing I think we have to keep in mind as it relates to voting and church. The church is supposed to be countercultural. So if we weren't so busy trying to look like the world, we would be having a greater impact.
Wow. I gotta write that down.
And if the church was as countercultural as it should be, a lot of faith-based dollars have shut up a lot. The reason we're not having prophetic preachers out here at the front line of this movement that's happening right now is because they're afraid they might lose the little grants.
Isn't that something? Wow. And they set it up that way. They set it up.
They think the long game and we think the short term.
It's true. But because I think what ends up happening is we almost just like how slavery even started, or even how when the Native Americans saw Christopher Columbus coming, they saw, new people. Hi. They saw peace. They saw collaboration. They saw, let's welcome. And they see conquest. They saw land that could be taken over. They saw slaves. So it's our viewpoints, even just how we approach things.
But that's why they're afraid of us, T. So they think we want revenge when all we want is justice.
That's it. That's it. That's it. But I think what is also hopeful, if we can end on some hope, at least this is hopeful to me, that gun licensing and gun purchases has gone up exponentially in the Black community. I think that's a wonderful thing, right?
I do too.
Because again, all the time, all you've ever heard, and we don't talk about how strong and powerful this NRA is, all of this, because we're really not in the game, right? We're not, and usually if you're in the hood, the only gun you know about is one that's illegally bought and kept. So we're not in that realm to even have any type of power or say over there. But we're starting to get in it. We're starting to say,
end on something powerful. Let me tell you this. If we continue to arm ourselves, they will figure out gun control. The thing that demystified them all of this time, let us get armed.
And I will say this, Reverend Patrick Claiborne is the first one I heard say, what if all of Black churches started giving out applications for gun licenses, having a gun license drive? They would know and learn and figure out how to deal with gun violence in every community. Okay, they would shut that thing down so fast. I think.
And what if the Black church did voter registration and voter education with the same level of commitment that it does stewardship?
Oh, preacher, we only got 4 minutes left, and you just took it there. Listen, imagine if we cared more about what is actually happening to Black people than their tithe. Imagine if we cared about healthcare, the way that this COVID has come into our community and wiped out the church. The pulpits are empty because of COVID. People worrying about going back to church, and some churches are going back with no pastors anymore because the pastor died from COVID. Imagine if we had been more adequately prepared, if we had a voice in how these health disparities are going on and all of this stuff. But we definitely got a voice on tithe. We definitely got a voice on the give, and it just seems unfortunate that we've been so skewed, because we
would give our members as much as we want our members to give to the church. Again, if we were countercultural, in the days of the first century church in the Bible, everybody had everything in common.
And they don't talk about how the tithe was used to help feed the people.
They don't talk about how the money was there, and if I was in need, I could get it. I didn't have to tell you all of my business, but when I got on my feet, I paid it back.
Yes, it's something. It's something, and I'll end with this, and you tell me your thoughts on this. I have been angry and just annoyed with so many of our faith leaders who have been become so vocal for social justice and so vocal about oppression in the Black communities, but still have theologies and practices in their own churches that are oppressive to women. I'm a firm believer that you can't be against one oppression and okay with it. You can't pick and choose your oppressions you're okay with. What are your thoughts about that? Because it leaves me with a big old lump in my throat.
I know our time is up, so I'm going to try to say this as briefly as possible. You're talking about intersectionality now, and we as women live at the intersection of racism and sexism, and we have to free us. The only reason churches can be as oppressive to women as they are is because we allow it and we're complicit in it. We need to speak it for ourselves, and we need to get our sisters together and be united the same way the Black community needs to be united. One of the easiest things for a lot of these misogynistic pastors to do is to pit women against each other.
Talk about it.
And that has to stop.
It has to stop. But we worry about holding people accountable. Let's start there, right?
Let's hold ourselves accountable
Let's
first,
hold
and then let's
ourselves
hold our
accountable.
churches accountable, and then let our churches hold our communities accountable. And the community and the church should be in a symbiotic relationship. Too
Yes.
many of our churches sit in a community that they don't serve.
It's terrible. I don't understand what happened.
We became too much like the culture. We need to go back and be counter-cultural.
Yes. My God. Thank you so much, Dr. Patterson. We will definitely have you back on if you're willing to come.
I'd love to.
I think we have to have this discussion post-election, because I'm pretty sure we're going to have a what do we do now, regardless of who's in office.
Oh, yes, we will.
Okay? Because I'm not a fan of Biden. I'm not a fan of Trump, but I know who I got to support. You know what I mean?
But let's all manage our expectations that even if former Vice President Biden wins, there's so much correcting to be done. It's not going to be different in a day.
It's not. It's not. It's not. And he doesn't have all of the support that he needs, which is why we got to turn the Congress around.
We need to keep the Congress, flip the Senate, and elect the president.
That's right. I had it backwards. Thank you. Say it one more time.
Keep the Congress Democratic, flip the Senate Democratic, and elect the president.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I have been informed. I have been educated. I have been enlightened. And I'm leaving feeling hopeful, because I really do believe that people are going to step up. And that's my prayer. That's my prayer. Either way, we will have you back, Dr. Patterson, to talk to us. I'll post this so that we can know what we need to do now to hold everyone accountable, including ourselves. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. I pray that you were blessed and informed and about this. You can connect with Dr. Patterson on her website, Set Captives Free. Don't you just love that name? SetCaptivesFree.com. You can find her on IG at Set Captives Free if you want to keep connecting with her. She's got some great things going on. She's doing a powerful work out here on social justice. So let's get involved. We just talked about voices that we can listen to. You can listen to her voice. So tune into her show. Tell us when your show comes on again.
It's called Free Your Mind. It comes on WJIL Today Internet Radio. It airs at 8 p.m. on Thursdays, and it's rebroadcast at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, and on Saturday at 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. And my guest this week is Assemblywoman Shavonda Sumter, and she's educating us on the election as well. So if you want more, please tune in tomorrow or Saturday, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. tomorrow, and 3 p.m. or 9 p.m. on Saturday.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tisa. I enjoyed being on Tisa's Rants and News.
Thank you, because we get to tell it like it really is. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. You guys take care. Oh, let me plug my own. I'm wearing tonight the pajamas that I'm selling on healingstheonlyagenda.net, because they're so great. Okay. And I got my slippers that I love. Carol, you got to check these out. They are adorable. So you guys, listen, support your sister at healingstheonlyagenda.net. Start doing your Christmas shopping, and let's support a business, right? That's not going to support Trump. You can trust my business won't do it. All right. Love you all. Have a good night. See you next week.
Good night.